I'll start out my first question. You're growing up in Colorado. At what point in your life did you realize you think, I'm kind of pretty good at this. I might have a chance to make it to the major leagues.
Well, no. I mean, it wasn't a process. It's a process.
Goose, a little closer to the mic.
I thought that, Mickey Mantle put his pants on a different league than I did. And I had him on some of the guys that I looked up to growing out here in Colorado. We didn't get that much exposure to baseball. So, I'll just back up a little bit, tell you guys a little bit about myself, and we'll lead into that question because it's early on in my career. I had 4 older siblings. My brother was 17 years older than me, and I had 16, 15, and 14-year-old sisters older than me. And then I was a mistake in my family, so here I am. And I have a younger sister that my mom said, well, he can't be back here all by himself, so I have a younger sister, Paula. But I'd like to introduce my son, Todd. Can't stand up, Todd. He's our youngest son. We have 3 boys. My family goes back here to Colorado in the late 1800s, right around the turn of the century. The late 1800s, my family came out here. And so we're native of Coloradans. There aren't many of us around these days. But so I grew up with a baseball family. My dad and my brother really were great baseball people, and my dad grew up a Yankee fan. My whole family were Yankee fans. We got a lot of exposure, I guess, to the Yankees and all that great tradition of winning. So I grew up a Yankee fan. When I started out, there were little rumblings growing up in Colorado Springs that, hey, my dad even said, hey, I think someday you're going to play in the major leagues. And oh, Dad, please don't say that. He wouldn't say it to everybody, just me and him. And I said, oh my God, Dad, please don't say that, please. It was like, oh my God. It was like I said before, I had put Mickey Mantle and all the greats that I looked up to when I was growing up on some kind of pedestal, that these are like really fictitious cartoon people that, aren't real. And for some reason, because I never met a big leaguer in the flesh. And I remember upon graduating, now I'll jump up to my youth baseball at Bonnie Park down in Colorado Springs. Growing up playing my youth baseball, I graduated from high school. I was 6-5 my senior year in high school, and I didn't know if I'd get drafted or not. There were some scouts at my game that had come. There were like 7 scouts. I lasted less than an inning, got my ass kicked, and so there I thought went my opportunity maybe to play professional ball. 2 days after I graduated out of high school, I had a lot of scholarship offers. And I'm talking about Todd got his education paid for by baseball. He was a heck of a baseball player himself. And they said, was he a pitcher like you? I said, no, he was an athlete. He was a third baseman. So we're not considered athletes, us pitchers. But I graduated from high school, and I'm looking at all kinds of colleges, not really even thinking too much about the baseball draft was going on at that time. And I came running in the house and I said, Mom, I got a job coaching the kids at Bonnie Park, where I grew up playing my youth ball. And my father, who was my biggest fan, my mom and dad were both, even my older brother, and my older sisters, they would come to my games, and as a kid. And I came running in the house that day, and I said, he had passed away my junior year in high school, my father had. And I came running in the house, and I said, Mom, I got a job coaching the kids at the park. She goes, great, Rick, but this gentleman has a job for you too. And I turned around, I'd run right by him. And she said, this gentleman has a job for you too. And I turned around, and it was a scout by the name of Bill Kimball from North Platte, Nebraska. He said, I've been watching you for 5 or 6 years. And he said, you're gonna play in the big leagues. And I just sat there dumbfounded. And it was the first time I knew I needed an agent, Doug. I needed you around. And deal maker here, I needed an agent. They offered me $5,000, and I held out for $8. But hey, we couldn't rub 2 nickels together. But I had one hell of a childhood. My dad was born 100 years too late. He should have been a mountain man. And I had a great upbringing in the outdoors, and it was fantastic. So we started negotiating. I signed that contract. I went up, and this was a real crossroads, and it was a commitment that all of us somewhere along the line had to make. I borrowed my brother's Jeep. We didn't even have a car. And I borrowed my brother's Jeep. We had it. My mom had borrowed it. And it was sitting out front, and I went up to where the Flying W Ranch is, and in Colorado Springs, and I sat there under a ponderosa pine and cried all afternoon that I'd signed my life away. I really wanted to go to college and further my education by way of no one in my family had ever gone to college. And so I was really looking forward to that. And then all of a sudden now I've got this, and I've signed this contract. I thought the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I sat there under that pine tree, and it was getting dark all afternoon, crying my eyes out. What have I done? I've signed my life away. I can't get Mickey Mantle out. I can't get these grades out that I looked up to. Those guys they don't put their pants on the same way as I do. And that's how I looked at these guys. And my journey, I'd never been out of the state of Colorado. I'd never been on an airplane. I'd never met a big leaguer in the flesh. Like I said, I thought they were fish and cartoon characters. Yeah. And it's getting dark, and I said, I gotta get my ass out of here. And in 2 days I'm leaving for spring training, or what would be rookie ball, the lowest classification of ball in professional baseball. And that's where they were sending me, down to Sarasota, Florida. And I sat there and I said, I got to get out of here. Goddamn, and I said, when I got up, I said to myself, and I'm still crying, I said, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but the only thing that's going to keep me out of the big leagues is I'm just not good enough. And you know what? With that commitment, I said there aren't going to be any shoulda, woulda, couldas, if, ands, or goddamn doubts. Bullshit, no bullshit. The only thing that's going to keep me from attaining what I want to do is I'm just not good enough. And with that, the tears stopped. The weight of the world fell. It was first deep breath and first dry eye I had all afternoon. And with that commitment, it was like, wow, let's go. Let's go find out how good I am. And it really was. It was a total commitment of that. It was amazing how the weight of the world with that commitment was lifted off of me that quickly. When I went to Sarasota, I felt like a little kid, you know, and starting out on this journey. And you know, am I good enough? All I wanted to do when I left Colorado Springs was put a big league uniform on one time, and that one time turned into 22 years in the big leagues, and things that I can't even comprehend it. I guess the thing that I'm most proud of is the longevity that I got to play so long. And I said it's like getting a 10-year-old kid going to Disney World and getting in a 2-hour line and waiting 2 hours to get on your favorite ride, and it lasts a couple minutes. You know, I look at it as that little kid getting on his favorite ride and lasting for 22 years, you know, and it's very humbling. We had a great saying in baseball. Baseball's made up of players who have been humbled and those that soon will be, because it is a mofo to play. It's a game of failure, just like life. That's why it's so beautiful. It parallels life, how we deal with failure in our everyday lives. Wow. What else can you fail at 7 out of 10 times and be a goddamn star? Wow. That's how tough it is. I can go to the driving range. I can go practice my golf, Doug, to beat your ass. And the baseball is a very difficult game to play. And practice. You need fields. You need a nice field to hit ground balls and take ground balls. You can go hitting cages all day long. There's no, it's like the bullpen and the driving range. You never know who's going to leave that bullpen. I never did. You know, I'd worry like hell when I was a young kid. God, do I have my good stuff on these with 50,000 people? Go shit the bed in front of 50,000 people, folks. It's no fun. And then do it twice in a row because you're thinking about shitting the bed last night. How about a short memory is a beautiful thing? He said, how'd you play 22 years in the big leagues? I said, the short memory I learned, forget that thing last night. Absolutely forget it. Way easier said than done, young man. Practice it. The sun's going to come up after you shit the bed in front of all those people. Okay? And I'm still thinking about that disaster last night. Coming into tonight's potential disaster. Guess what? If it ain't gone, it's there talking to you. Don't crap the bed like you did last night, big boy. And guess what? You got 2 crap the beds going. So that's the fickle game that baseball is, and life too. Perseverance, one of our greatest qualities in life and in baseball. I'd like to talk a couple minutes just about, forget about that question and answer crap.
We kind of gave up on that, Goose.
You know, going into the Hall of Fame in 2008, outside of my kids being born and things like that, and 2 of my greatest teammates, and that's a mouthful. And probably the second most talented player that I ever played with, that's a mouthful. You know, I wore my welcome out a lot of places. I got to play for 9 different teams. I got to play with a lot of great players, for a lot of great managers. But when I got to the big leagues in 1972 with the Chicago White Sox, I met 3 people. Johnny Sane, who was the off-speed pitching guru on the planet. I could throw a ball through a car wash without getting wet, but I had no idea what an off-speed pitch was. Okay? And I ran into him. Another fella that I ran into when I say the stars were aligned was Chuck Tanner, my manager. He's a tough guy. Wow. What an education. And the third guy, but number 1, in my life was Dick Allen, Richie Allen. Little did I know my rookie year I would be watching the greatest player that I would ever see play. It was Dick Allen. The second greatest player that I ever saw, and let me tell you, this is a mouthful. I played with some great Yankees, Reggie, you know, I've played with Greg Nettles, Thurman Munson, against a lot of great players. But Dave Parker. And they just got elected to the Hall of Fame. And I couldn't be happier. I remember how happy I was. I think this is the second, not me. This is the second happiest I've ever been for a couple of guys. Jim Cott, a couple years last year, Jim Cott and Tony Oliva. Wow. Finally, these guys are getting in. Dick, unfortunately, passed away. It really pisses me off. He didn't drive in any more runs. Bunch of bullshit. Let's get real, you know, and cut the bullshit and everything. And that's what Dick was, no bullshit. And he taught me, Chuck Tanner told me before I even met him, that you're gonna meet the smartest baseball man you will ever meet. And that was the truth. I met Dick Allen, and he taught me the game of baseball along with Tanner and Johnny Sink. So the stars were aligned. I said even the home runs I gave up were great. And believe me, you know, that's the fickleness of the game. You know, I look at those home runs, the Detroit, San Diego, that gentleman that was bringing up the Padres. One of the great thrills of my life was going to San Diego after the Yankees. I needed a change of scenery, and the Padres filled the bill. They needed two pieces of a puzzle. They had Tony Gwynn, they had Steve Garvey, some pitchers. They had a good starting staff. They needed two pieces of the puzzle, a relief pitcher and a third baseman. And Nettles and I left the Yankees. I left as a free agent, signed with the Padres. And then Greg came over the following spring and took them to the World Series. It's one of my greatest thrills was turning on a city for the first time and being part of that. So getting back to that series with the Padres and Tigers, that's when I should have walked Kirk Gibson. There's a lot in here that know what I'm talking about. And you know, Dick Williams, I'm looking in the games in the balance. This is game 5. We're down 3-1 in the series. One more loss. We're going back to San Diego. We're in Tiger Stadium, and Kirk Gibson comes up. Well, Dick Williams, greatest. I think I hate to say this, but I think he's the best manager I ever played for. And that's quite a statement too. I hate to even say because I played with some great managers. And I see Terry Kennedy must have whistled, Dick did. And I see TK, my catcher, look over in the dugout. You can Google it. And I'm famous. So TK looks over in the dugout, and I see Dick put 4 on his chest. Terry looks back, TK looks down at me, and he goes, on his chest protector, 4. I shake Dick off 3 times. Like this. We go through this drill 3 times. On the 4th time, Dick comes out. Calls timeout, runs out of the dugout. Gets out there, he says, what? He says, you don't want to walk him. I said, I've had great success against him. Go after him. Dick no more gets turned around in the dugout to watch the game. I throw the pitch and he hits it in the upper deck at Tiger Stadium. So that was the last nail in our coffin, but I got to preface this by going back a few. Lawler is one of our starters, Tim Lawler, left-handed pitcher. bunch of the pitchers are down. I'm going to the bullpen. I'm minding my own business, right? This is the kiss of death, and this happens to us too in life. You're going to recognize this. So I come out, I got my jacket, I got my glove. I'm going to mind my own goddamn business. I'm going to the bullpen, right? Where I belong. And it's the top of the bottom of the first inning. Detroit's up. Gibson's up. And Waller goes, hey, how'd Gibby do against you? And it just wasn't thinking. I own it. It came out. I said, I own it. Oh my God. That's the kiss of death right there. Right? And I'm thinking, oh shit, get that back. You know, bring that back. And so now fast forward the 8th inning, I come in the game, and this happens. Now I give up the home run, game over, right? They get us out in the 9th, game over, series over, we lose on that shit, okay? So I'm sitting in front of my locker, and we're all pitchers in front of the locker in that Tiger clubhouse. It's so tiny that you can shake hands with the manager's office is right here, tiny little cubicle. And he's sitting, Dick Williams is sitting right there. And I got my back like this, I got my feet up on my locker. I've hardly broken a sweat. I throw my hat in my locker, had a couple beers, I've got a beer, I'm sitting there. I can't believe this just happened, right? I look down and Lawler's got his hat over his head, shaking, he's laughing so hard because I said, I own it. Right, okay. I put my feet down, I go, I'm mouthing to him, that's your home run. And with a few other words. And I said, that's your home run, that's not mine. You jinxed my ass. Like this. So, but we're still best friends. But that's just one story. 9 teams, playing for 9 teams. I loved everywhere I played. I gotta say my Yankees, we won a world championship there. All the great players that I had the privilege of playing with and against. Being a relief pitcher, wow, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I hated the 4 days off in between starts. And so Tanner moving me into the bullpen, and right at that time, you didn't want to be in the bullpen. It was a junk pile where old starters went that couldn't start anymore. And you didn't want to really be in the bullpen. We kind of were at that crossroads, or that, where the game was becoming more specialized. So I feel like I was kind of at the forefront of that. Tanner called me and Terry Forrester a hard-throwing lefty, hard-throwing righty. Calls us into his office and he says, sit down, Tanner. And Johnny Sain sitting right there, our pitching coach. Sit down, you guys. We sat down and he goes, we're going to tell you how we're going to use you guys, okay? Those starters get in trouble, it's going to be your asses. That's exactly how he put it to us. Woo! Okay. So we were coming in, a lot of inherited runners all the time. Those starters, he said, when they got in trouble. It wasn't like we're going to bring you in before they get in trouble. But it was exciting. I became to love the bullpen, and the rest is kind of history. Now we'll do the thank you very much.
What's that? Hey, we want, Todd, will you stand up again, please? This is a commercial endorsement here. This young man has terrific talent. He is a craftsman, and I use that in the strictest expression of the word. Todd does a lot of beautiful work out of his home in Colorado Springs. And Todd, you're coming in for 10%, right? Is that the deal? Okay. But seriously, Todd does wonderful work. and he has some business cards with him today. I asked him to bring them. If you guys are looking for something really unique to be designed, he's your guy. You need somebody who struck out, this is your guy, okay? There you go. What are we doing now, Bill? Where are we? Where's Bill?
You might as well give away some more autograph balls like Goose and let Goose give them away.
Yeah, all right. Bring the prize lady, come on over.
AJ, already signed, so you have to sign them again.
Those look familiar.
And you have to.
Yeah, it looks like my signature.
All right, here we go. Shannon.
Okay, we have 3523.
3523.
What color?
Red.
Red. Anybody?
Anybody want it?
All right. There we go. Ken Reed. Oh, yeah. Don't leave it hanging there, Ken. All right. The next one, Shannon.
3515.
3515. Hey.
The doc.
Hey, all right.
This guy's been my doctor for like 40 years.
And Todd, I'm hoping that you get one. Hoping here for you.
Here.
All right.
3492.
3492.
Up there.
There we go.
I'll meet you halfway.
Does 9-1 count? Like,
Also, in a few minutes, we're going to have our trivia competition. Got some good prizes for that. You don't want to be in it? You will. All right. Justin Timberlake is in the competition.
3529.
3529. 3529. All right, we have a winner. All right. We're going to go around that way.
My God.
You know, well, when I talked to Todd the other day, I said, I hope you and your dad can come. And I said, if you get there early enough, you might have the opportunity of winning a signed Gossage baseball. And he said to me, Ed, that would be a life-changing event. So will you sign one for your son, for God's sake? Hey, what else we got here?
Well, we can do the trivia thing, or I don't have any more. We have more baseballs for the random guys.
You got any questions?
I didn't see any.
Check, what's your check?
Or you got time for a question?
Yeah. How about questions,
Yeah.
Billy?
I got a question.
I got one.
Go ahead, Kevin, fire away. Kevin's got one.
Hey, Goose, got a question for you. My wife and I are both natives, so we're with you, buddy. So the question we got growing up, Denver Bears was minor league for the New York Yankees. So we got to see Tony and Billy Martin play. Right?
Sure.
So what was it like playing for the Billy Martin?
What was it like playing for Billy? Next question. My mom said you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all.
Okay, then I got a part two.
He was quite careful. Billy was, he was good. And, the Yankees, one of the greatest thrills was playing my 6 years with the Yankees and getting to know all the old Yankees, Mantle and Maris and DiMaggio and all those guys. It was like an out-of-body experience. My first year there in '78 when I joined the Yankees, they were world champions. And meeting all those guys at Old Timers Day was my favorite day of the whole year with those guys sharing a locker with us. Mantle and Maris and all the greats, and Heinrich and, you know, Jerry Coleman and Bill Rizzuto, Yogi, oh my God, on and on, Moose Coward, Hank Bauer, you know, on and on. It was just like, you sat there and just kind of like, holy shit, you know. Yeah, it was a thrill, yeah.
And then part two.
Part
is,
two.
Part two. So I was watching the documentary of the 1988 World Series, and my friend Dennis Eckersley,
Hey, quiet out there! Hey!
actually studied how you pitched Kirk Gibson before that series. I don't know if you knew that, but they studied how you pitched Kirk Gibson and approached him during your career previously. Unfortunately, Eck didn't probably listen, and the rest is history.
Well, it was Eck is a good buddy. I played with Eck 2 years out in Oakland. They threw that little, tried to backdoor a slider. We talked about it, and we try to do a lot of things that backfire. So, hence all the home runs we gave up. But yeah, that was quite a confrontation. The only thing, Gibby, and I've been doing Gibby. Gibby's run into some health problems. I do his benefit up in Detroit. And other guys, I can't believe I'm friends with George Brett. I hated that bastard. That's the Pine Tar home run that I gave up. Yeah, that was me. And so, hey, I'm proud of those home runs. I told Brett, I said, I single-handedly got your ass in the hall. So, you know, you got to tip your cap to these guys. They're such great hitters, and you make a mistake, you're gonna pay for it. That was it, and that was the difference between, you know, the big leagues and the minor leagues. These guys didn't miss pitches, you know, the good with the great. Yeah, and got it. You know, the big red machine facing that team was incredible. Pittsburgh, I got to play there with Dave Parker just for 1 year. But that was one hell of a ball club. So, questions?
I think Owen had one, right?
Yeah. You got to spend some time with the Rockies eventually, consulting through the organization. Can you talk about your experience with the Rockies and your insight into their future at this point?
I gotta watch what I say. You're filming this. Well, you know, one of the things that really the only thing I regret is Bob Gebhardt didn't give me a chance to try out with the team. And I said, hey, I don't want anything for nothing. I got to make this team on my own. If I don't pitch worth of shit, I ain't gonna make it. That's all. And he never got that opportunity. And you know, I would have loved to have finished my career right here where it started and kind of come full circle. And so I would have been I was a great mentor. You know, I think that's what's missing in the game today. The nerds, and I've talked to a couple of you guys. It's the revenge of the nerds. If it doesn't come out of that stupid ass computer, young man, throw that thing away, okay? And if it doesn't come out of that computer, guys like me are no longer, that torch, I'll just start back up. That torch has stopped being passed. It was passed for over 100 years, from generation of player to generation of player. When I broke in 1972, let me tell you something. I didn't say shit if I had a mouthful. That was the way it was. And I was there to learn, and I was there and them to teach. All those guys that were on that team, I was the only rookie. And all those guys on that team were veteran guys. And, you know, they taught me how to act on and off the field. to me, the respect is what they taught me, and the game itself taught me that. But if you don't respect something, if you've never played it, like these guys don't even know how to put a jock on right. And they're coming up with numbers that are, I'm waiting for someone to give me one thing that they have done that has made this game better. The Rockies don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. I hope you're filming this. I worked for Dan O'Dowd for 2 or 3 years, and then I turned in my resignation. I wanted to grow the grass out. Grow those alleys up out there in that outfield. We could have, who remembers Vince Coleman? Could fly. He was like a jackrabbit. You could have 4 Vince Colemans in that outfield and you couldn't cover it. You can't control the air, right? Light as hell, the ball flies out. Hello, Dick. Seriously. Dick Monfort.
We got it.
And I told him, grow the grass out, no doubt. I resigned shortly thereafter. I said, grow the grass in the outfield out. Cut off those alleys. Larry Walker, all those outfielders, all they did was head for the fences and pick it up when they got to it, whenever that was. And it's a goddamn track meet in between, Dick. So, they didn't want to hear it. Dan O'Dowd wanted that field to be as fast. I didn't know it was that fast until I got on it. They invited me up to be part of the team when the team was at home. Come on up, suit up. The guys would love to have you. Great. I did. I got out there and it was like a pool table. There isn't one Hall of Famer that could make a living in that ballpark. Now grow the grass out, infielders. Why did Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker, they called them the Keystone Combo, man. They got to everything and turned everything. Because the grass, unless that ball is hit at you on that infield of the Rockies, they ain't getting it. I don't care how good Derek Jeter ain't getting it. Okay? It's a bunch of, this ain't rocket science, you guys. Use some common sense. You can't control the air. Hit it in the air. You're hitting those alleys. I don't know what the surface is. I'd like to know the square footage of all of the outfields and then Coors Field. It's huge. Nobody, not one Hall of Famer that I know could make a living pitching in Coors Field. Give something back to your pitchers. They spent $100 million on Mike Hampton. What was Hampton? A ground ball pitcher, right? He had no chance. It's like a pool table. Unless it's hit right at you, they're not gonna get to it. Jesus Christ. Buddy Black, you're just collecting a paycheck.
No shit.
That's all you're doing. That's all these managers are doing. Boone for the Yankees. What a disgrace that World Series was. Fundamentals, young man. You got it? They're the same damn fundamentals that we learn when we're 8 years old that we practice in the big leagues in spring training. It doesn't get any fancier. Just do the basics. Well, in your sleep, got a $250 million Cole, Garrett Cole. Can't cover first base. We cover goddamn first base in our sleep.
Yeah.
A disgrace. Mr. Steinbrenner is rolling over in his grave. That's the pride of the Yankees. Gone. Gone. With the nerds. Brian Cashman, I'll mention his name too. Right. Don't know his ass from a hole in the ground either. Anyway, you got a question? The question is, did I ever face Pete Rose? That was part of that Big Red Machine in 1977, the first time. Pete Rose, man, God bless him. And they're letting steroid guys into the Hall of Fame. They're going to let his ass in too. Right. The cheaters. All right? They have no business in the Hall of Fame. You got to cheat? What are we telling our kids? We're going to reward Ortiz. Is this on too? Yeah. We're gonna reward Ortiz and these guys that we know that tested positive for steroids. We're gonna let them into the Hall of Fame. We're gonna reward them for cheating. Let me think. Boy, that sends a message to our youth. The reason why they had the Congress meetings about steroids. You remember that? When Mark McGuire and Sosa and Clemens and all those guys made asses of themselves? Yeah. I played with Mark. Mark's a gentleman. He's an awesome guy. You know, cheated? Hey, you're laughing all the way to the bank. We can't have him laughing all the way to the Hall of Fame. So that's mine, and if they're going to let these guys in, then Pete Rose is a saint. Okay? One of the greatest baseball players ever to put on a uniform was Pete Rose. And I got to know Pete after I got out of baseball. We did a thing up at the Ritz-Carlton in Beaver Creek, and there was 500 people that Reggie, myself, and Pete. And I didn't even know this. And we got up and we're sitting up there, us three in the MC. And before anybody even said anything, Pete gets the ass. Okay, he stands up and he says, "This son of a bitch right here," he points to me, I don't know what he's gonna say, "struck me out my last at-bat with big leagues." Oh, he was pissed. That was Pete Rose. There you go. Yeah, and so you know, the guys that Big Red Machine I talked about. Wow, what Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan. We've lost a lot of great Hall of Famers. I mean, of the upper echelon. Henry Aaron, what a gentleman. To get to know these guys and to, you know, as gentlemen, is one of the biggest thrills of my life. Just like that Yankee clubhouse when we shared a locker with those greats. Question? Yes, sir.
Mr. Gossage, thank you so much for being here. It's really an honor to have you. You brought an individual that had a big impact in the development of baseball. We actually have a relative brother here.
Baseball's changed so much.
Plus Campbell.
Oh my God, yes.
Could you enlighten us on his influence on your life?
Well, I was lucky enough to run into a similar guy in Johnny Sane. We're talking about Buzz Campbell. And I had the pleasure of meeting Buzz probably 3/4 of the way through my career. And, excuse me. Talking baseball with these guys, Buzz Campbell and Johnny Sane and all these old scouts. They don't have scouts, any real scouts anymore. If you don't know, if you don't, all you know, like the rest of people, don't start it. No, he's an old school guy, as you can tell. He's old school. And these guys had a different way. You know, the difference between the nerds of yesteryear, I'm talking about general managers of teams. You know what those guys did? they didn't really know any more baseball than these guys, these modern day nerds, right? But what they did, they surrounded themselves by great baseball men. And in turn, those guys were their eyes. They would send these great Kirby Tevets, and I can go on and on of these guys that when you talk to them, you were talking like Buzz Campbell. You were talking a different language almost, like, wow, the heavy, just the finer details of the game, which are just, you know, everybody can throw hard. Throwing hard's like long drive. It don't mean jack in the big picture of the game. It's one facet of the game. And these guys taught us how the old guys surrounded themselves with the greatest baseball men money could buy. And in turn, they learned the game. They would tell these scouts the piece of the puzzle, or let's talk about what do you guys think we need. In turn, those guys learned the game. The old general managers that are in the hall today, you know, John, oh gosh, what's my name? Sherholz. You know, won a lot of championships. All these guys were great managers, but they surrounded themselves with great baseball people. They don't want my knowledge. I'm not saying I'm the shell answer man to everything, but I've been there, done that. I know every emotion that's going through your body out there, young man. I know, because I've been there, right? These guys that are coaching today, all they do is bring out the balls, bring out the bats. Dick, are you listening? and that's all they do. There is no responsibility. You get in a kid's ass today, the toughest teachers, all of us, this parallels life again. Who are our greatest teachers?
Parents.
The toughest.
That's right.
Put a foot up your ass. Put an arm around you too. That's coaching. You get the kid's butt today, you're fired. Oh yeah, you're gone. Alan Cockrell, it happened to him with the Yankees. Told Judge to get his head out of his butt. 7th game of the playoffs against Houston. And they did all that science stealing crap or whatever it was. And 2 days later, he told him, bluntly, get your head out of your, yeah. And 2 days later, the season's over. Game 7's tomorrow night. So you got to make some adjustments. And really got in on him. 2 days later, after the season's over, the judge struck out 3 times or 4 times, whatever. And game over, Yankees go home. And 2 days later, Alan Cockrell was fired. That's the process. You know, that's all. It's a terrible game that they're putting out there right now. I can't even watch it. It's like they tore my heart out. That's how passionate I am and how much passion I have for this game, as you can't tell. Yeah, I was taught to respect this game. I was a rookie for, passing that torch, that stop. That 100 years of passing the torch, done. Nobody's telling these guys how to act. They flip bats. We're going to see it in the Little League World Series. Guys flipping bats, acting like jerks. Yeah, no respect. I've been 22 years in the big leagues. I never got shown up, and I never showed a hitter up. No way. Except when I said I own them. Yes, sir.
I was really fortunate growing up to be able to watch you back in the 70s. So it's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for your time. Now you mentioned, and you're the same way you pitched is the same way you speak, which I love and see the respect for it. Who were you intimidated by possibly when you were playing and you came up, even though you mentioned some of the cartoonish type the idea is mantle and so you can never face those guys, but there had to be pitchers that you respected or looked up to that maybe intimidated you for a period of time until you became, in my mind, when I watched you pitch at Yankee Stadium in '78 or something, like you were the intimidator that I thought. You were kind of like the Bob Gibson. You were just nobody. You could kind of spit nails, and it was just incredible to watch. I don't have a lot of idolization of players, but seeing you here today, not knowing who's coming today, I'm blessed that you're here. Thank you. But I'm curious about what players you might have been intimidated by.
Well, as a joke, when Jim Rice went into the Hall of Fame, they said, "Did anybody scare you?" And I said, "No, but Jim Rice came the closest." It's just respect. Man, those guys, great hitters. Oh my God, I saw Tony Oliva swing the first time, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And Harmon Killebrew, you make a mistake to these guys. We're standing in left field at Minnesota, outside at the old Metropolitan Stadium, speaking of Metropolitan, and we're at the old Met outdoors, and Wilbur Wood and a couple of the other old pitchers on. This is my rookie season, and we're standing in left field, and Wilbur, we called him Woody. Wilbur goes, "Hey, kid, turn around." I turned around, and he goes, "Look up there." And there's some seats painted with like bullseyes on them, right? And you see those bullseyes up there? That's where Harmon hits them. I went, "No way." They go, "You make a goddamn mistake, that's where that stuff is."
That's pretty good.
So, oh my God, you can't even think that a human being can hit a ball this far, But that's, the greats. And it's Frank Howard. I'm a rookie, and Frank Howard's 6'8", probably the biggest human being I've ever been around. When he was over 350 pounds, and this tall, 6'8", 6'9", and I'm playing Detroit. I'm a rookie, and I'm on the mound. I'm pitching in Tiger Stadium, and I'm facing whoever I'm facing, and then I'm checking. I just glance over at who's on deck, right, just to see kind of who's on deck. And I looked over. Frank Howard was on one knee with his bat like this, and he was on one knee, and he was as tall as I was, like this. And so when he came up to the plate, I looked at him and I went, "Well, at least I can't walk it." It was a strike zone, like facing that. Just keep it within the window there. So, yeah. Respect. The guys that gave me fits were like what Doug would be, a Punch and Judy. Yeah, like a contact hitter. Contact hitter. Singles hitter, yeah. So those guys, to add shorter swings, just put the bat on the ball, they're the ones. Big hitters like Judge and those guys, they got big holes. I mean, you make pitches to those guys, you're going to get them out. And today, these kids come into the big leagues, not learning how to pitch in the minor leagues like we had to before we got to the big leagues. Now they're rushed to, you throw 100 miles an hour, and that's all they look at. You don't even have to know how to pitch. Just get it over. Well, you saw the World Series. Giancarlo, all the mistakes they made ended up in the cheap seats. These are balls that are belt high. Stay out of the middle of the plate. Those were in the middle of the plate. Duh. Yeah.
Hey, Goose.
Question? Yes, sir.
I mean, you're not that opinionated, but I'm wondering your opinion. Over the course of the last couple of seasons, there have been relievers that have told their managers, that we hear it in public, I'm not going out in the 8th inning. I'm a free agent at the end of this season. Could you have ever imagined the game would get to that point? And if you followed that, what would you say to those players?
Well, I mean, that's just one facet of the game. People go, what's changed? What hasn't?
Yeah.
I don't even know what facet of the game you talk about. Pitch count. Why would I stick a number in your head? It's debilitating. That's all you think about. Bunch of bullshit. When we got tired, they came and got our ass. And the hitters would let us know when we got tired. Start getting the ball up in the strike zone, Dougie. You're going to be heading for the shower, brother. Yeah, no. You know, they don't know anything. It's a shame. Do they need a pitch clock? Hell yes, they need a goddamn pitch clock. We didn't need a pitch clock. Our favorite saying was, let's get this son of a bitch over and go have a beer. We don't, and finish that off, we don't get paid for overtime. Let's go. We used to see how fast we could get it over. Let's move it along. Baseball's meant to be moved along. These guys stand out on the mound, get the goddamn ball and throw it. Get it back from the catcher. Don't walk around and think about, you know what the hell you want to do with this ball right now. Get it over. Get done. The more strikes you throw, the faster pitchers work, the better they're going to play behind you. And the better you ever played golf real goddamn slow? It's a nightmare. You can't get any rhythm going. That's why you gotta get it going. Get a rhythm going. Pitching, same thing. I get that ball back, I'm getting that box. Let's go. You're ready to go. Fans, they love it. Now, they make a mistake. Here's nutshell. They're trying to control something that is uncontrollable. We control in our lives what we can control, right? And then we deal with all the shit that's coming at us, right? That's pitching. That's baseball. You know all hell. You're dealing. You're 6, 7 innings. You're dealing, man, and I mean you're dealing. Nobody's got on base, right? Or, you know, you got a 1 or 2 hitter going. You're dealing 2-0, right? All of a sudden, you're in the shower going, what in the hell just happened? Like Yogi said, it ain't over till it's over. And it's the goddamnedest game on the planet. Control my ass. You're dealing with control what you can control, and then you know the shit's coming and how you're going to deal with it. You're not talking yourself into it, it's just the nature of the game. Yes, sir.
Because, you know, you pitch 2-3 innings at a time. Today, pitchers, 1 inning as far as that goes. More and more arm problems in today's game. Talk about that a little bit, because you pitched 22 seasons, and I don't know what, if any, arm problems you had, but how about pitchers?
No windup. The no windup. Tommy House, I had him down in Texas with Nolan. Nolan and I played 1 year down in Texas with the Rangers, and playing with Nolan. Pitch count. He came to me one day in my locker. We're going out for bat practice. He comes to me and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "Nolan's got a side day today." He goes, "When you see him heating up on the side during bat practice, and he's going to throw his side during BP, he says, come on over. I want to show you guys something." I just talked to a young man in the back there. I call them piece of shit windups. These no windups. This thing here. What is this? Holy shit. Wind up. Goddamn it. Let it go. Okay? So, I see Noli heating up, doing his side, And so I trot over. He's about ready to cut it loose. Tommy House is going to show it. Whatever he's going to show it. Tommy House stands in front of Nolan. He's on the mound like this, catches behind him. He goes, and I'm standing over here. I haven't said a word. I'm just standing there waiting to see what he has to say. He said, Nolan, I want to talk about the no windup. Nolan goes, right, I mean, as soon as Tommy came out of his mouth, Nolan goes, Tommy, he goes, get the hell out of my way. And take that no wind-up shit, and he just told him where to stick it. That was the end of my meeting. I ran back and staggered. But that Tommy House started the no wind-up. They wound up for 100 years. When you pick your arms over your head and your hands over your head, you feel big muscle from your toes, your thighs, your hammies, your butt, everything. You feel them engaged. They wound up for 100 years, these guys. Boom, here. And then turning and getting this, getting that hip and this here, the core, okay? You got a sore arm, your mechanics suck. Okay? Every time my arm started hurting, I was cutting something else out. I stepped straight back. Study some of these, you young pitchers here. Just talk to a young kid back there, you. Step straight back. Keep those shoulders squared at home plate, okay? And then you get a full turn, and you feel everything engaged. And you get some momentum into home plate. You're starting from a dead standstill here. They're pitching less, right? And breaking down more. So go, it's not rocket science. Common sense. That's going out the freaking window. Throw your phone away. Ask questions. You guys have forgotten how to ask questions and communicate. Okay? Talk to me. Ask me a goddamn question. One question spurs 10 more. I got balls enough to go over to Bob Gibson, walks in the clubhouse. Oh my God. Talk to Bob Gibson. Woo-hoo. Wow, I don't know. I got the nerve. Shit, I said, it's now or never. I went over. By the time this is over, we got 10 chairs pulled up, and Bob Gibson pulled his shot about pitching. What an education. What an education, huh?
So when dealing with like failure, like you were talking about how it's just like life, like what was your main stepping stone? So say you had you shift to bed that night, what was your goal that night before you went to bed?
Forget, how am I going to forget this?
How am I
I said, it came to 2 disasters in a row shortly after Chuck Tanner told me, you know, it's that fragile. Shortly after that, I said, that night, I said, I know, because I'm thinking, I got 2 disasters going, because now I can't get it out of my mind. I'm thinking about that disaster last night while I'm coming into tonight's potential disaster. Oh my God, nothing good can come out of that. Just like waking up, we think about the shit that happened yesterday, the same shit's gonna happen to you today. You know that. You know you are what we think. We think good things, here's baseball. We think good things and good things happen. Every time I went out there with a negative thought, shit happened. Life is like that. So, when I had those 2 disasters going, I'll never forget it. And I'm saying all the cliches. Turn the page, water under the bridge, new game, all that bullshit, right? Yeah, turn the page, sun came up today, you know, right? You try to bullshit yourself, but it's there. It's the elephant in the room. the disaster last night, coming into tonight's potential disaster. It's not, it's there. It's the elephant in the room. I can't bullshit myself. As hard as I try, it's there. Because it's so powerful, that disaster last night. The negative of trying to swallow that pill. Losing the ball game. Your teammates, fans, everybody saw it, right? Come into tonight's game, potential disaster. It's not gone, it's there. Now I got 2 disasters. On the ride home that night, I said, you know what? And it's scary, it was scary. I said, you better figure these goddamn disasters out, or you're gonna be back in Colorado doing something else. That's a fact. And I was shaking in my shoes when I said that to myself. I gotta figure them out. I don't know how. I don't know how. How do you forget about a disaster in front of 50,000 people, on to every million, your teammates? They busted their ass for 7 or 8 innings only for me to come in and give it up. You know, wow. So, build on the good. People go, how'd you play 22 years in big leagues? I said, a short memory is a beautiful thing. You build on the good, learn from the bad. Don't take for granted the good that we do. We do good because that's what we've worked on in life and everything else. In baseball. Don't take that mindset was it's everything. Attitude. We think good things and good things happen. Yes, sir.
You mentioned longer grass in the outfield. Were there any other observations that you made with your time in the Rockies, or just even just watching at home, that they could help turn around the organization, or at least the last 2 years of 100 losses?
They've had the talent before. They had talent, you know, hey, you get 25 guys pulling in the same direction on the rope, and buddy, you can accomplish a lot with a lot less talent. Today, all it is home runs. You get them on, get them over, get them in, get the situational players where you're playing baseball, not home run goddamn derby. Okay? Small ball. Get them on. The beauty of baseball was get them on base, move them over however the hell, get to the right side, the situational guys, table setters that set it up for the big thumpers, 3, 4, 5. Those table setters, my God, that's the beauty of the game. It's gone.
Nobody bunts anymore.
Nobody knows how to goddamn bunt.
Right.
Fundamentals. Nobody knows how to cover first base. It's not that big a deal. Bullshit. Get your ass over there and cover first. You got that? In your sleep. Yeah. Sorry?
My formative teenage baseball years were in the early mid-70s. And I remember you and Forster and Bart Johnson. And I had the opportunity to meet Tom Bradley 20 years ago.
He's the one that made me Goose. Tom
I
Bradley.
did not know that. He was managing investing at, it was probably 20 years ago. But anyway, he had covered it earlier, talking about Sean saying Tom Bradley had talked forever about this. Covered that. This came to mind when I was asking, what are your memories of Bill Melvin?
Oh my, wow, thanks for bringing him up. We just lost.
I have to ask on behalf of everybody here. Cloud hanging over the season. What do you think is gold in that bat?
What's that?
What do you think is gold in that bat?
Well, we'll get to that later, but there's a more important question first. Bill Melton, we just lost one of my greatest teammates was Bill Melton, the home run hitting third baseman for the White Sox when I broke in 1972. he was one of the guys who took me under his wing. And we just lost Billy. I talked to his wife, and you know, just a great guy, you know, and a great teammate, a great player. God, he had some phenomenal years. Was a home run champion, I think in 70, 71 maybe, something like that. But anyway, God bless him, and that was a thrill playing with him.
Goose, let me ask you a question. If you had the power, if you were in the position right now to make whatever change needed to be made at the Rockets, to make them turn around and be successful, what would you do?
Analytics, get rid of it. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, total. I've been asking anybody who will tell me, what have these nerds, where have they made the game better? All they have is destroyed everything that it stood for over 100 years. The torch was passed. That's what they wouldn't know the human element, and it's the most important thing in our lives and in every baseball player's life is the human element. And they're trying to take it away. Replay. Take that replay and shove it where the sun don't shine. They don't get it right anyway. Umpires did a great job for over 100 years. Fantastic job. I never felt the umpires were a force. They just did their job. And they did them great. There were a couple umpires, Bruce Freeman. I hated that little. And, you know, I've been kicked out of 3 games. He got me 2. Anyway, they did a fantastic job. Now they go to replay. It's killing the game. Do they need a clock? Yes, they need a clock. Our games are taking 4 hours, 4.5, 5 hours. Oh my God, dig me. They take a pitch, hitters. They take a pitch, step out of the box, they take it. They didn't even swing. They didn't even disrupt everything, and they adjust everything they got on. Pitchers, walk around. Get on that mound and pitch. Get ready for that next sign. Move the game along. You're going to pitch better. You're going to play better. The more strikes you throw and the faster you work, the better those guys are going to play. Wow. Whew.
Pretty simple.
It's very. That's how we were taught. But we did it. They made sure we did it. That's what's missing. Nobody's telling these guys, get your ass in the box from the dugout. Their dugout. We enforced everything ourselves. Guy got out of line, get your head out of your ass. You know, you might have words. You might have a fight. Beautiful. Let's go. Yeah. Question. Hey, listen. You guys are great fans of the game. Alan Bosser, geez, congratulations, Alan. And he just informed me he's going to retire, so hey, happy retirement. But you know, I get hundreds of letters every week from great fans. You guys are what the game is all about. And you know, without you, we wouldn't have a game, and I was taught at a young age to really, hey, these people are what the game is all about. Chuck Cannon taught me that one, and made sure that as a rookie, I never forgot that. And Eddie's been trying to get me up here for a long time. I don't know how many years, but it's been a pleasure being here, Todd and I. Thank you for having us, and if you brought anything to sign, I'd be glad to hang out and sign whatever you need. Yeah. But great to meet all of you.